last year, it started with MySpace, right? I mean, randomly you wanted to hook up with him and see if you can get him out here for a match. So what's the progression from last year, when you first tried to make contact, the timeline from that going to now? What's happened through that entire timeline?
I sent Davey the message on MySpace, and I told him I was interested in wrestling him and, bring him out to the company and, trying myself at him. That was my biggest challenge, And, looking back on it, I don't think I was ready to face him. I wasn't ready to wrestle him. But it took me the Jason Strifes, the Brian Cages, the Scorpio Skies. It took me the Ryan Taylors and the Rocky Romeros and the Tony Kazinas to make me get to that level, to make me feel like I finally belonged, to make me get to the point to where I can look at myself in the mirror and say, now I am at that elite level. I've had the championship now for over a year, and now Davey's going to come in the West Coast Wrestling Company and try and take the championship. This is the biggest match of my career.
So when you first talked to him, tell me about your communication that you had with Davey, because I know at first you're kind of put off, because when you first talked to him, he kind of blew you off a little bit, right? And then he said he was retiring, and then you found out that wasn't true, right? Tell me how that happened from when you first contacted him, just the communication only.
Well, I contacted Davey and I told him, I was, like I said, I was interested in working in wrestling him. And then at the time he told me he was retiring from professional wrestling. God damn it.
Okay, so...
It's an interview, man.
Yeah. All right, so you first... when you first got this idea in your head, tell me the line of communication, because it was almost a year ago when you first talked to him. So tell me about when that first happened to now.
So I talked to Davey and I sent him a message and I said, I was interested in wrestling him and bringing him out here, like I said earlier. And he told me he was retiring from professional wrestling, done with active competition. He's given it up. He had other ventures he wanted to work with. And to be honest with you, he was very respectful about it. He said, he took a look at the videos. He said he heard of me, whatever. He told me good luck, best of luck. And really a part of me was let down because I said, I'm not going to have the chance to wrestle Dynamite Kid. I'm not going to have the chance to wrestle Chris Benoit. Davey Richards is the only other guy that I ever wanted to wrestle. And I spoke about the Evolution before. And I felt it was instrumental for me to prove myself to wrestle the best in the world. So I was a bit let down. But it took me, like I said, the year to build up, maybe you want to use the word confidence, build up the confidence I needed to ask him again when I found out he really wasn't retiring. He did the interview with Ring of Honor and he said he's not retiring. So then I contacted him once again and I said, now I'm even better. I've had this championship for a year. I got the target on my shoulder right now and I want you to come out and try and take it from me. And that's pretty much the communication, how it's gone for me and him.
Okay. Are you doing anything different for this match? Physically, I know you've been training harder. Mentally, what are you doing to prepare yourself for this match?
In terms of physically, I've been working out harder and stuff like that. That's a given. Anytime anyone is going to wrestle their toughest opponent, they're going to up their game in the gym, in the ring, whatnot. In terms of mentally, this is something that I've wanted for more than a year now. This is something that I had to go out and personally get. I had to contact Davey Richards to come out here and give me my shot. So that's a lot that weighs very heavily on my mind. And there's not one moment that I'm awake that I'm not thinking about this match, that I'm not thinking about October 24th. Like I said earlier, this is the defining match of my career. This is the make or break moment for Ric Ellis.
What happens if Ric Ellis goes into this match with the mindset of having a tremendous match? You've tested yourself time and time again against the best as far as Southern California can produce, the best that have been flown out here a couple times. What happens if Ric Ellis goes out there and he can't perform up to the level that he's expecting?
For Ric Ellis, failure doesn't exist. And maybe that's the attitude that I've adopted because I've trained my ass off in preparation, not just for Davey, but everyone else that's ever stepped foot in the ring. And I always prided myself on working extremely hard to get the championship. But unlike a lot of other champions, now that I have the title, I work even harder. That's when the workload increases. And that's what separates Ric Ellis from other champions, not just in our company, in the past, but other companies as well, professional wrestling as a whole. And I don't believe in just staying put and having good matches and just leaving it at that. This isn't my day job. This is my life. Professional wrestling is Ric Ellis.
A lot of people know that you are a strong wrestler. You put up great matches. Every single night you're in the ring, you're 100% invested in what you do. What happens if you realize that the Ric Ellis that is good, the Ric Ellis that is great in Southern California, what if that same Ric Ellis doesn't compare to the world's greatest?
Well, to take a look at the previous competitors that I have. We brought out Jason Strife from Iowa. We brought out Rocky Romero. He's an international superstar. He's traveled with Davey. He's tagged with Davey. He knows Davey. I even beat Tony Kazina, his head trainer. That puts a lot of momentum on my side, knowing the fact that I beat Tony Kazina 1, 2, 3, and knowing the fact that just last month I made Rocky Romero tap out in the middle of the ring. My confidence is at an all-time high right now. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to wrestle Davey. This is, like I said before, this is the moment, the defining moment in my career. And I refuse to be outshined by anybody. And Davey Richards, my idol, or whatever you want to call it, will not come to Southern California again and defeat me. I'm too hungry for that. And that's the attitude I've had since the get-go, is stay hungry.
A lot of people are expecting Davey Richards to walk out of this match with the West Coast Heavyweight Championship and bring it back to Ring of Honor. A lot of people are expecting you to lose in this match. You may have been the favorite in your previous matches, but in this one, it's hard to argue with anyone who expects Davey Richards to come in here and beat you for the title.
No, I don't agree, because you hear all the guys on the forums or whatever. There's never any talk about Ric Ellis. There's never any talk about what Ric Ellis does in the ring. It's always his opponents. It's the Rocky Romeros and the Ryan Taylors, the Brian Cages, whatnot. Everyone expected those guys to walk away with the title, but they didn't. They failed. Yeah, Tony Kazina beat me back in May, but I beat him the next day when it really counted. When it was for the championship, I defeated Tony Kazina. I pinned him 1, 2, 3.